It's time. Absolute Flash. Absolute Flash. It's here. It's great. You should read it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about this, because we need to talk about this. This was the one I was least excited for. This is the one I was least excited for. We got nowhere to go but up, I'm thinking. And that is saying something, because this is peak. So Absolute Flash, issue number 1. Let's talk about this. Let me just break it down for you.
Break it down for me.
The Absolute Flash in Of Two Worlds, Part 1. It is written by Jeff Lemire with art and cover by Nick Robles, glorious colors by Adriano Lucas, and letters by Tom Napolitano. Let's start with the design, okay? Because I feel like this page that we have here, just even with the credits, is insane. There are some crazy 2-page spreads in here. I mean, we start with this, and this was a preview image that they showed. I remember when we were talking about Absolute Flash for the first time. I think I saw that image first at SDCC last year, and it blew my mind. And in this, it blew my mind even more. So we have the art in here. We have the design in here. The art is amazing. The colors are electric. These colors are like alive, and that is something I really love about this. But it's not just about that. The storytelling here is perfect. I mean, the pacing, us cutting back and forth at moments when I really want to see what'll happen next in a scene, and then we cut to a different time or a different place or just a different scene. I loved it. I think it keeps you on the edge of your seat the entire time you're reading it, which is not easy to do, by the way, with, I feel, something that is in the written word. It's not easy to build that level of suspense and excitement, and this issue really nails that. Let's talk about the Flash, though. So we have Wally West here, and something that I really love about what we're doing with Wally West is the design. I think the character design is so cool. He's got a shaggy mohawk. It's very cool. He's kind of got a bit of an edgy but also just real feel to him. He's playing bass guitar. He's got this Wally sign in his bedroom. You know you're a cool kid when you have a sign with your own name on it in your bedroom. Like, I don't know if it says Wally because all I see is wall. I also think it'd be funny if it just said wall, it was on the wall. But there is a lot of mystery in this issue, and that's something that I love about it. There's just a hint of what's going on, but we're still piecing it together, and I think that's where this issue is just maybe the best of the issue ones that I've read, to be honest with you. And that's saying a lot because all of them have been amazing, really, for different reasons. And that's saying a lot because it's going up against, you know, my favorite, Absolute Wonder Woman. And it's also going up against one of my favorite issue ones prior to this, Absolute Batman. I thought Absolute Batman was a complete slam dunk, but I think what this really builds is just that idea of needing to know what's really going on here. We get an idea of what's happening. We see Wally running away from something that went wrong. We know that he was on the base. We know that there were some experiments that were happening on that base with Dr. Allen, Dr. Barry Allen, obviously, but there are gaps. There are gaps that need to be filled. And I love that they aren't filled in this issue. And I love that it gives us an idea of what's going on, but doesn't really fully answer those questions because it makes me want to come back for issue 2. And now I need to read issue 2. And I never thought that Absolute Flash was going to be this hype for me. And I am so freaking hyped about this comic. And it doesn't just end with Wally and what's going on with him and his story. We get some other characters in this, okay? We get to see the Rogues. We get to see the Rogues, and they look amazing. They made Captain Cold look cooler than I've ever seen him look. When he puts on the goggles and we get that panel of him with the goggles on, how did they make those goggles look cool? Like, the goggles have always been so goofy, but here they just look super cool. Even Captain Boomerang. Captain Boomerang has like boomerang drones, I think, that he's sending around. It's insane. Also, they actually made it make sense that people are captains because I'm pretty sure they're working with the military. So even their names sound less ridiculous here. We also get an adaptation of Lisa, aka Golden Glider. And of course, we also get what I believe is going to be the Trickster based on the colors and also based on the name of Jesse. Now, obviously in the comics, the trickster is James Jesse, and here this character is named Jessie and has the trickster colors incorporated into their look. It's a lady, so I think it's going to be Jessie James, which is kind of really fun. I'm really curious to see what direction they're going to go in with this character. I feel like what this really nails too is it's just got that Jeff Lemire feel in the best way possible. It is sad boy vibes, and I'm super here for it. Especially when it comes to Wally talking to his dad, who of course in main continuity on Prime Earth, Wally's parents aren't alive, right? He was with Iris, and then Iris marries Barry, and so his Aunt Iris and his Uncle Barry are basically the people that raised him. And it's really sad because Wally's relationship with his dad here is so strained. And at one point, his dad is really trying to just be a good dad and look out for his son, and talks about the idea of maybe sending Wally away for his safety. And Wally's already been moved all over the place, had to move to this new spot only to tell his dad, you know, I think I maybe need to consider your safety here. And Wally's just done with it. And he says to his dad when he tells him, you know, I think maybe I might have to do this, he just has such a dismissive, like, yes, sir. And we get this perfect, by the way, perfectly illustrated side of his face looking back at his dad. It's the perfect expression. The expressions in this entire issue are flawless. Even when it comes to Barry being in this, I know that Barry looks different in this comic, but he just still, they really capture the essence, I feel like, of Barry Allen in here, just based on what I've seen thus far. So I think that the tragedy of Wally West, this idea of Wally not realizing what he has until it's gone, it's just so bittersweet and sad. And sad boy turned up to 11 in the best way. It is kind of what Jeff Lemire is amazing at, and yeah, he's nailing it again here, and I'm super here for this sad boy story. And the other thing is that this comic is clearly an homage to a lot of the history of Flash as well, as we've seen with previous Absolutes. Something that I really love is they play with the concept of who the character is in their history in a really interesting and often in a quite deep way. We do get an insanely deep cut. We get a reference to Blue Trinity, which is the password for Project Olympus, a year after the accident with Wally and with Barry clearly being in the midst of an experiment, which when Wally walks into goes crazy, and hence everything is destroyed. So for Project Olympus, the password is Blue Trinity, and if you don't know, Blue Trinity is weirdly a reference to kind of a speedster team, a Soviet speedster team. So I never thought we would get that, and I'm actually very surprised that I even caught it. I read it and was like, wait a minute, Blue Trinity? There's no way that that's a reference to what I feel it's a reference to. And then I looked it up and was like, yep, that is what it's called, Blue Trinity. I thought that sounded familiar. And obviously, as this is an issue 1 and there is so much mystery and so many questions left unanswered, I do have some theories based on what we see in this, and I'd like to talk a little bit about those. So one of the things that we see in terms of the imagery is that we see when Wally is having these episodes, you can kind of see Barry almost around him in the Speed Force as Wally is struggling. I mean, you see it, I think, even on this first spread that we get. You can see what appears to be, looks like Barry to me, down here. And it almost feels like the two of them are connected through the Speed Force, which is kind of an interesting way of playing with some of the stuff that we've seen in the main continuity before. But almost I wonder if that is where Wally kind of gets his powers from. However, I'm wondering if he was somewhat tapped into the Speed Force, or whatever this version of it is going to be, before even this incident happened. Something that he talks about early in the issue is here Wally's mom is gone, she died, and he talks about how his mom was always good at, you know, kind of talking him down and helping him with these episodes. Now, there are a few different ways you can interpret that. You can interpret that as Barry deals with maybe some anxiety, which I could see here, or it could be Speed Force episodes. There is a point when he leaves his dad's after the fight, and it looks like he's using the Speed Force based on the illustration where we have these red rectangles going up towards the lab, that he almost speedily runs to the lab in a way that's like he's there in an instant. Now, I don't know if I'm interpreting that illustration correctly. I also feel like there's some weird stuff with time jumps where it almost felt like Wally was jumping back in time, but I'm not entirely sure on that. It's not super clear. It could just be that that's Wally remembering it. It might not be a literal jump back to time because he doesn't change anything. However, it did make me wonder if maybe Wally is moving through time, but he just isn't really aware of it or isn't in control of it like he would normally be because he's struggling with his speed powers at this point. It could also be a combination of the two when he talks about how his mom helped him. It might be that the anxiety and the Speed Force connection are kind of one and the same, because it does feel that the way the speed powers are shown here, it feels frantic, it feels chaotic, and it feels stressful. The whole way that this is paced out is kind of, like I said, you're on the edge of your seat. It's a bit anxiety inducing, it's a bit stressful, and I kind of like how emotive the story is, not just in terms of what we see happening on the page, the art, and the actual storytelling, but in terms of how the pacing also unifies all of that. So really, this is just a complete bundle to me. It's everything coming together beautifully, from the design to the art to the story to the pacing of it to the packaging of it. I have nothing bad to say. Nothing. I have nothing bad to say. This is a 5 out of 5 for me overall, and if I could rate it higher, I think I would. I'm tempted to give it a 6 out of 5. That's how much I really, really loved this. And I'm not even like a major Flash person normally, so that's cool. I mean, I do really like Wally West though, so the fact that they decided to go with Wally, I gotta say I love that. Anyways, those are my thoughts on Absolute Flash #1, and I can't wait to read more of it. And you know, I can't wait for this entire batch to come out. I'm just so excited. I'm really enjoying the Absolute universe, and I'm so glad. I hope they continue this. I don't know how long they can keep this streak going of everything being amazing, but I hope it continues forever. I would really love that for myself and for everyone else reading, and you know, for everyone that's working on these books who is just continuing to crush it. Let me know your thoughts on Absolute Flash down in the comments below. Let me know how you're feeling about the Absolute universe so far. You know, what do you love? What do you not love? What do you feel is working? What's not working? What do you want to see more from Absolute Flash? I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you missed it, I did some other videos on Absolute as it's been coming out, so make sure you check out this video here. It's a great one. I'll see you next time, and until then, friends, as always, stay nerdy. Bye!